Welcome to the Hungaroring for round 8 of the GP2 series, shown live and exclusive here on Eurosport. It's been a dramatic couple of days ahead of the opening race, and the big news is that Nico Rosberg and Alexander Premat have had their qualification times annulled due to technical infringements during qualification. More on that in a moment, but the upshot is that both ART Grand Prix drivers will start at the back of today's grid, sharing row 12. Bad news for Rosberg in particular, as he had won at that as they try and put some heat in the tyres, and already problems unfortunately for the forecar. It looks like Negrão. We'll have a look at that in a moment's time, and just a nightmare right from the beginning. They've had their problems technically, these cars, some of the anti-stall mechanisms producing exactly the wrong result to that intended. Mondini, the GPR, to turn and get onto the grid. Nico Rosberg and Premat are at the back there after infringements, technical infringements. On pole, it's Yanni and Kovalainen. Let's see how they go here. There's the light board. All of them ready to go racing here. Watch them light them up, and nice and tidily done. And Yanni gets an absolute belter of a start, cuts straight across, and Kovalainen's had a nightmare. And here they come down to the first series here. This is a lovely, lovely start. Scott Speed's not had a bad one either, and they light them up as they come into the first right-hander here. Plenty of room here. They all want to get through nice and tidily. It's going to be an awful long race, particularly for those who've started at the back here, and nicely done indeed. All fair and square so far, thank goodness. Down over the rise, yet another one, 4 wide, and we've had some stallers on the grid, and that looks like near tragedy as well. I think it is Lapierre's car. We'll get onto that for you in just a moment. And here we go. Wonderful. It is Lapierre. He's gone into the pits. An absolute nightmare for him as Rosberg there, the white car, already battling his way through. He's moved up 6 or 7 places already. Unbelievable. Yoshimoto also in the pits, one of those who had the problems right at the off there. We've seen it all sorts of times here, not just at the Hungaroring, of course, but right the way through the GP2 series. Technical bothers there have been. Monfardini joins them in the pits as well. Things to look at, things to sort out. He running in 5th spot, just moving past Pla. In fact, Pla's on the drift with Viso going by him as well. Well, amazing stuff. Very, very tight here. Who said you can't change time? And 1.2 speed is down. And already the stops are happening. Just listen to the engine. It looks like a regular one here. There's Rosberg. He wants some clean track. He's done it before and made it pay dividends. Remember, he's the man. That's Nelson Piquet we're looking at. The machine is exactly the same as everybody else's. As we have a look at the start once again. No launch control here, as you see. Tidily underway, and Rosberg just leaving Premat behind on the grid there, and just getting away nice and tidily. Poor old Premat stuck at the back, also having his problems. Did get underway and wasn't one of those that needed a push. What racing we're seeing here right at the beginning. Wonderful stuff. I think this is Piquet Jr. coming through from the middle of the pack. Oh, contact, near contact, just had to back out of it. And quite rightly too. You can't win or lose the race in the first corner, although some, of course, might think they possibly can. Well, he finds himself a little bit further back because of that jink. Pantano, the black car. The number 7 got a lovely launch up, of course, iSport as well. He might. Lauda coming in. Matthias, who spun in qualification, just wanting to give himself a bit of space here, just to sort of feel his way around this track. It's new to an awful lot, naturally. They're currently running in 4th spot. Points for this race, of course, starting at 10s, 10.86, 5.4321. As you might expect, copying Formula 1. Sprint race tomorrow, starts at 6, goes down to out there to steal those points, if you like. And then coming in for an irregular pit stop in a sprint race, which is not compulsory, and getting out there again. So to stop that shenanigans, you've got to finish 90%. There's the race classification for you, and it's Yanni after 5 laps. He's now almost 2 seconds clear of Pantano and Scott Speed. They're nicely spaced, further 1.9 back. Kovalainen on the drift, 2.8 behind Speed, and he's going to be into the clutches of Viso for round 8 of the GP2 series. And that is our race leader, Yanni, getting it a little bit wrong. Now, a number of 10 cars have pitted yet. Neither has Lapierre or Monfardini. but both are a lap down, and that looks a little bit serious for the 24 car. With the temperature, it's ambient temperature around about 40 Celsius. Just think about that for a moment. And that's Rosberg. He's gone all over the place, and he's back on, but perhaps guilty of pushing just a little bit too hard, maybe going for the fastest lap. But Rosberg was running at 14th spot and done amazing things to jump up 9 positions, but perhaps paying the price just there. We didn't see how he lost it. See if we can see it here, whether it was all on his own. It was just running a little bit wide, and the dust starting to play its part, and he's going to be dragging plenty back onto the track here as well. The nightmare then goes on for ART Grand Prix, and I just wonder if they've been forced to make amendments in terms of the steering and also in terms of the suspension, which they were obviously. Amares just and another one as well. It's the 12 car of Mondini, only arrived in the series, of course, for this race, and Ryan Sharp resigning from the team and deciding to take himself, his sponsors, to the Renault World Series, where perhaps his luck could run a little bit better. Incidentally, Mondini was not having the best of seasons in the Renault World Series, and if you looked at his results from this year, you certainly would be asking yourself why on earth he was chosen to come into DPR. And Formula Renault V6 champion in 04, perhaps his previous form. Negrão just leapfrogging into 8th place. Garcia then on his marks. Just a 2-tyre compulsory here. Oh dear, watch yourselves. And problems with the air jack, and that's an absolute nightmare, and a real shame for Garcia because he was running extremely well. And I don't know whether they've sheared the thread. We'll soon find out if they have. 2 tyres compulsory stop, that's what he took. Both of the left-hand siders. There's the safety line. That is going to be absolutely crucial. Scott Speed in the pits. In the wrong pits. Well, that won't have helped matters at all. And they're going to change the rears. That's interesting. I wonder whether he shredded them at the off here. And there has been word that the track temperature running at around about 50 Celsius might be over-slicking the tyres, literally eating them, just getting cooking them, if you like. Well, he wanted the business end at the back for his 2 change. That's what he's got. Monfaldini's come in the pits here, and Scott Speed back out and slotting in behind the charging Rosberg, and that's absolute perfection as far as Nico Rosberg is concerned, and what a result for him. And Premac, they picked up the wrong white car, and this was a nightmare for Scott Speed, and that's why he slotted in at the position he did. Played into the hands a little bit further forward, my friend, played into the hands of Rosberg. Perhaps we will see, unless there's been any more problems out there, as Canartam gets it a little bit wrong. Amazing stuff here. 22 car, doesn't matter who you are, even Heikki Kovalainen can get it a little bit wrong, and as the debris actually manages to coat itself on these hot tyres, that's what it's all about. And Kovalainen decides, thank you very much, I've just about had enough of this. Lap 14, so they're changing tyres early. That means that this is going to get very, very hairy if it is eating the tyres, this track. Well, as we head towards the 42-lap climax of this one, just watch out, they're going to be getting extremely unstable when they're running and racing out there. Just avoids trouble. So Kovalainen back and running with us here. And we're just waiting for all the times to spool through. It's Rosberg in 11th spot with Scott Speed just behind him. Those two perhaps will move up in just a moment as others start to pit here. And Negrão just holding himself off. Kovalainen tight on the inside. And Negrão, the high-tech PK machine, number 4. Just failing to hold that position. Negrão, incidentally, still to stop, currently running in 7th spot. We're on board with Scott Speed here. Scott Speed running 12th, and partly due to his own fault in the pit stops. You can only put that down to driver error. Olivier Pla just ahead of Kovalainen. Negrão in 7th place ahead of Bruni, and you can see there who still has to stop, and the top 5 do. So Kovalainen is in a plum spot here. Good pitting strategy for him, and it's going to be fascinating to see how this one spins out. I'm loving watching Rosberg holding off the attentions of Scott Speed, and Viso has decided to come in for his pit stop now. And there's going to be plenty, I imagine, of the leaders as they start to see in their mirrors those have already made their stops. It's going to get a bit difficult for them, to say the very least. Lights him up, gets back underway. Viso's going to come out here, though, way down, and everyone else is going to be on the jump, on the rise. Let's just see where he fits back into this one. Well, that's Nelson Piquet Jr. just going by in 13th place, which means he's going to fit in jumpy. Amazing, though, and Pantano has decided that his time has come. Supernova International boys, very adept, very capable, and there's some jinking and diving going on here, and I think that's, is it Garcia? Have a look in a moment. It's Lauda and Garcia. Well, let's see if Lauda can hold him off. This would be a nice little test for him. Son of Niki Lauda, of course, and came to racing quite late, and is very much on a learning curve, but nice young man, and wish him all the very best, of course. He carries a big name, and a lot of people say, well, it opens doors. It also is an awful weight on the shoulders of drivers, as Olivier Pla pits off position 5. Pantano has come back out, and let's see where Olivier Pla is. He going to go? Well, Adam Cowell's had some good news this weekend. Good news just continues, but not here in the GP2 series. He's had his problems, as Adam Cowell, running in 15th spot. It just shows you then the leaders are not going to stay there for long. And just look at the chasers. Kovalainen, championship leader, a man who looked to be going off the boil, courtesy of the efforts of Rosberg and Prema, an ART Grand Prix. And he's certainly hung it back together here, hasn't he, Kovalainen? Championship leader, wins in the Nürburgring, now at Magny-Cours. And he said it was a huge gap in performance between... Oh, look at that! Careful, lads. And that was Fauzi just losing it, and I think he's bedded in, perhaps, for the day there. He's in a reasonably safe position. It is a runoff spot, though, if anyone else gets it wrong. And you're going to see an awful lot more of this. Suddenly, he overjuiced it for some reason. I don't know whether he selected the wrong gear. I can only think that's what it is. And all of a sudden, nearly just shot into the back of Olivier Pla, hit the brakes, and round he went. And as we just look over the back of Adam Cowell, you can see what happens. It wasn't a question. He was actually all, but in the hands of Scott Speed, tidily coped with. Alvarez. Well, now all the publicity shots have been taken for Campos Racing, with him running out front. Decides to come in and take his stop. Beautiful livery on this car. Almost looks like American in style, really. Sort of thing you'd expect to see herring round an IRL track or something like that. And there is the 2-car of Can Artam, still having his worries. Well, if it's happening for Artam, perhaps it will be happening for Scott Speed as well. Remember these drivers, oh dear, and that is an all-over look for Scotty Speed. Just as I was suggesting it, we are live here on Eurosport 2, may I remember. No shenanigans there. Scott Speed also out of this one. An absolute nightmare for iSport. We'll find out exactly what happened for you ahead of tomorrow's sprint race here at the Hungaroring. But that is a real shame for Scotty Speed, because I wonder if we had a replay on that one. Looks like he may have just cruised happily all on his own. Let's see if anything broke here, if you can see. Suddenly absolutely no power, and just brings it to a halt safely off the track where it can be rescued. Nice bit of professional work from Scott Speed, but something of a shame. Also a shame is we've got to pay the bills, so we're off for a short break. It is a short one. We'll be back live at the Hungaroring. Dear oh dear, it's going on here at the Hungaroring, and Yoshimoto gets it wrong as well at exactly the same spot that I think caught out Rosberg. There's been troubles just on the rise. The car's weight is lessened significantly, and if there's any dust, because it's been dragged on by these vehicles, as you can see, not going to be racing very quickly after that. Rosberg, incidentally, also made a similar error. He's running in 7th spot. And he's in a real battle for positions 5, 6 and 7. It's his teammate Premat, who hasn't made such a mistake, is running in 5th spot. Premat is currently 48 seconds down on the leaders. Jani is still to stop. So as Negrão. Kovalainen is our effective race leader here. Confirmation of that for you on your screens now. What a race for ART Grand Prix. Who says you can't overtake at the Hungaroring? It's all about whether the cars are as closely matched as they are here. Director of the GP2 series, Didier Perrin, says they had absolutely no performance advantage by what they did to the car. It was just the fact that they made the changes without asking. Everyone else has been saying different things, may I tell you. Jani has pitted, as you've just seen, pitted off the lead. That has let Kovalainen off the leash. And boy, is he going for it, because Pantano is 1.5 seconds adrift of him now. He knew that was the case. Jani coming back out, getting back into the field here. Look at this. What racing you've got at the Hungaroring. Fantastic. Jani doing the business. Nicely and tidily done. Well, it just shows you what can be achieved. Racing here is what it's all about, and racing in this series is absolutely wonderful. Slots himself just in front of Kovalainen. That was the perfect job done by Jani and his crew, and we salute him. And it has been an absolute thriller. There's Lauda in the pits. I think it's the 3rd time he's been in here, and it looks like he's going no further. You never know. 6, and Rosberg is fancying his chances as well, and this is the moment, is it? He has a look down the inside and makes it clean. Can he hold on to it? He's got to nail it as he comes off. Holds it very, very nicely, and Premat moves up another position, but for how much longer? They're jinking and diving just behind, and this is the result of those who just get it that little bit wrong, and it can happen at any time, and they just continue to swap places, and this is great racing. Wonderful stuff. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Lopez, Negrão, Premat, Rosberg and Bruni at the end of the start-finish straight. It is a classic spot if you can just get tight in. Let's see the times as they cross the line between the pair of them. Well, it's 0.2 of a second. Here he goes down the inside. This is going to be his move. They've got to avoid contact. Oh, it almost happened, but Rosberg's nailed him. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to spot. What a race at the Hungaroring. Fantastic. I think we would have seen a few more exchanges. And Jani still there. There's our Spanish friend just finally making a tidy exit from his car, having stopped earlier on. And that's unfortunate. Alvarez joining Hernandez at Campos Racing, not being a decent. Suddenly appear with Premat. Yes, you heard it right. Started plumb last on the grid. He and his ART teammate are in the points so far, separated by Lopez, who's running in 5th spot. And for the time being, it's Piquet Jr. who has that pleasure in position 8, and that's heavy, and it's the 14 car of Lopez. Lopez has gone in here, and I'm just wondering whether this is going to be a full yellow. We're going to have to see how dangerous his position is, and not called yet. That's why they're still swapping positions, and that's where we're talking about. That's the difficult spot. That's the bubble. That's what it's all about. Bruni, Viso, just a little bit ahead, I beg your pardon, of that particular mark of just looking at, and the safety car is indeed out, and it had to be. Forgive me there, I was just looking at the timing screens and not paying that much attention to the changes that were going on, because I just needed to see if that safety car was coming out, and it is. So boys, now it's been declared, just make sure that you don't do anything naughty under this. So safety car coming out on track. Of course, everyone's made their pit stops, so don't read too much into that, but they just want to clear that car from that position. And not that dangerous, it has to be said, but you don't know what sort of debris is out there, and thankfully Everyone fit and healthy with Jose Maria Lopez strolling away. And what this effectively does, naturally enough, it compresses the field. When that happens, all hell breaks loose. They're just waiting to get the hook to take that over the wall. Rather, you just have to wonder what Premat and Rosberg are going to do here as they race down towards the first curve, if that is indeed where the safety car unleashes them, which of course it will be. Yanni, Kovalainen, Premat, Rosberg, Viso, Bruni and Piquet Jr. will be the boys. Well, a couple of swaps here. I wonder if they're going to let them stick. That's Viso and Bruni swapping positions. And Piquet Jr. and Olivier Pla are in 8 and 9. So just ahead of the bubble, if you like, position 8, which will be pole for tomorrow. If you finish 8th today, top 8 get reversed, and they are your positions for the sprint race. Even on such a short lens, you can see the heat haze here. And there he goes. Well, we said the tyres might degrade here. There's a lot of reports of that. And, well, you just wait. You just wait and see. Kimi Bruni, who had his mechanical problems, he's running in 7th spot ahead of Nelson Piquet Jr. And that's where an awful lot is going to be, an awful lot of this story is going to be told. Pace car lights. So round the field come, and Yanni has held everybody up here. He's holding them all back. Kovalainen over the back of him, then it's Pantano, Premat, Rosberg and Viso. Yanni, here he comes. Can he take it off the line, off the front of the line here, front of the grid effectively? There he goes, all single file, and this is the scream down towards the first right-hander. And Yanni, can he hold on? Kovalainen's all over the back of him, trying to get as near as he possibly can. Can't do. He's having to defend. He's gone one way and then the next. He's down the inside, and Kovalainen's got it. Oh, he's mistaken. He's gone wide, and Yanni's come back in on him, and Kovalainen's had a nightmare, left the braking far too late, just got a little bit of a lock, and he's been eaten, has he, by the field. He's managed to hold on, and that's a great deal of good fortune. Pantano, Premat, Rosberg and Viso all over the back of him. This is tight stuff. This is very, very quick action here, and don't forget, well, they know about position 8, they know what it means, and Olivier Pla perhaps better than others, and Piquet Jr. runs just a little bit wide, opens the door, and through they come. Difficulties at the beginning of this one, and all of a sudden he finds himself potentially with a pole for tomorrow's race. It just shows you your luck can run hot and cold even throughout a race, and we've seen so many changes of fortune within a race itself, and not least the ART boys here on this day. Yanni out front, and the gap between himself and Kovalainen, who made an audacious move. Well, what racing we've seen here at the Hungaroring, and fancies his chances down on the inside, gets a little lock there, and that's Bruni just getting done by Negrao. And retaking the spot. They're just going to be swapping places all over the place here. Piquet Jr. also fancies his hat. Shows you, get in the pits, alter things just a little bit, get out there and show the rest of them a thing or two. Yoshimoto will pick up a couple of points if nobody can beat that time, and I don't think they're going to. It's a 1:34.680. Amazing. Piquet Jr. has gone. Tells its own story. Well, we saw him, and did you see the state of the tyres, his front tyres? Absolute nightmare. The groove's almost completely gone. Looked like slicks. From a Land Rover. Unbelievable. Well, he was having his troubles. You could see he was fighting with the car and battling it all the way, and he decided to park it somewhere nice and clean, and thank goodness. And Neil Yanni is in the comfort zone here. Piquet Jr., let's have a look at it. Well, I think he just decided to park it, frankly, and probably places, and you can see him just pumping the brake there. Get himself a tidy stop. An absolute promoter's dream, Piquet Jr., and a shame he didn't get the run he was looking for. Adam Carroll is in that coveted 8th spot, which will be pole for tomorrow's sprint race if he holds on to it, and there's no reason to expect that he can't, because the gap between himself and the chasers is now just about 2 seconds, 1.9 between himself and the nearest man to him, Negrao. Be great to see Adam light it up off the front row. Had his launch troubles though, and difficult to keep again down the inside. He's been foxing him with different lines through this one again and again, but Rosberg looks like he's going to hold on, and Viso, I think, has lost his opportunity to pass there. And out front, we told you the final curve, would it be? And Yanni takes it nice and coolly. He holds on, and look at that. What a race from Neil Yanni. Takes it in beautiful style for Racing Engineering. Kovalainen in second place, there's 0.4 of a second behind, and the battle continued right until the end. Pantano in third place, credit to him, as well as Prema, who started on the back row of the grid. Rosberg finishing in fifth place, getting some points for himself, and Viso just could not make it any better. Pla will start on the front row of the grid, but it's Negrão who will be on pole for the sprint tomorrow. Adam Carroll just edged out right at the death. Poor old Adam, he's going to be starting a little bit further back, and he will not be pleased about that. Position 9 will be his starting spot for tomorrow's race. The top 8 will flip themselves. What a race. Get your breath time. Amazing stuff. The Hungaroring. You're not supposed to be able to pass here. Just try telling that to the ART boys. Amazing stuff. Yoshimoto gets the fastest lap, picks himself up a couple of points as well. It is a very, very busy racing weekend, not least here at the Hungaroring. My name's Carlton Kirby. It's been an absolute pleasure to have your company. We'll see you for the sprint race tomorrow.